Thank you.
Hey guys, and welcome to Vegan Booty Talks. I have a guest with me today. She is a healthy lifestyle advocate, an engineer, and Ph.D. student studying food for the past 10 years. She is finding ways of welcoming femininity in life. She says, I started this journey after coming off the pill and losing my period for 2.5 years. Although painful, this journey brought me the opportunity to reconnect to my most prestigious gift, which is creating life as a woman. Welcome to the show, Natalia Ribeiro. Hi, how are you today?
I am very well. Thank you so much for having me here.
I hope I pronounced your last name right. Is that okay?
Yeah, it's completely fine. If we pronounce it in Portuguese, it would be Ribeiro, but I'm used to the Ribeiro pronunciation. I'm completely fine with it.
Okay, sorry. Well, I'm glad I asked.
No, it's perfect.
Well, it's something crazy going on with my podcast. I get so many like Brazilians coming up lately. So I hope I have more Brazilian friends in future because I love you guys. But it's just like you've been like a third guest in a row from from Brazil.
Oh my God. Interesting. Is there like a reason for that or no?
No, I have no idea why. Yeah, it's just coming out from nowhere. Well, the one of the guests was your friend, so they're the reason, right? Terador, like one of the trainers. Yeah.
Gustavo? Oh, I see.
But other guy was completely random, and then it was also from Portuguese, and I'm like, oh my God, what's happening?
Well, maybe you should start learning some Portuguese now.
I love that language, and I wanted so badly.
Yeah, we can always start with Duolingo and then go baby steps every day. It works well.
Yeah, okay, let's get into it. Sorry, guys,
yes.
We are friends, so we're a little bit off the topic sometimes because we are just really want to talk. But you are not in Brazil, so before we get started, I wanted to ask you a little more, like, where are you right now? What do you do for a living right now? Just to let our listeners know you a little bit more.
Yeah, of course. So I am located in California, in the north of California. My little town is called Davis, and it's well known by the University of Davis, California. And I've been here for 2 years now. I complete 2 years in September. And I moved from Brazil to Davis to pursue my PhD degree. I graduated from my bachelor's in 2020, food engineering in Brazil, and then I came straight to the PhD program. However, I couldn't move right away because of the pandemic. And then in September of 2021, that's when I moved here. So since 2020, my main job and now solo job has been working as a researcher and a teaching assistant at the University of California, Davis, where I'm pursuing my food science degree. Yeah.
Wow, that's so cool. So what is your food science degree is actually specialized on?
Okay, so just to be very clear, I took the PhD route, and food science, how can I say, has a lot of different facets to it and has a lot of intersections between a lot of other fields of research. My intersection, I always say that I am in the intersection between food engineering, nutrition, and microbiology. Specifically, I work with probiotics and bioactive compounds, like, for example, antioxidants that we extract from plants. This is the most common one, the most popular ones that people could relate, like, for example, anthocyanins. And I work with them and probiotics, and I see how I can combine them to make both of them more effective to our consumption. Like, how can these two things, when combined, become even more powerful to contribute to human health? And then when I do that, I analyze through a diversity of techniques the metabolism of the bacteria, the probiotic, and further later on the process, how our metabolism responds to taking those probiotics and those bioactives. So this is a little bit of where I am at in my research, like where in the endless world of research, endless world of food science, where am I at? Yeah, I'm there in the intersection between food engineering, microbiology, and nutrition.
Wow. That's so cool. So what does eventually bring you to the point that you decided to study nutrition? Why and when you got passionate about that?
Okay, that's a very cool story. So it all started when I was a kid, actually, and I was always passionate, like very passionate about biology. And I wanted to go pursue my bachelor's in biology. However, especially when I got to high school, I heard from mentors, from my parents, from family members, teachers, that being a pure biologist was not something that would lead me to very successful paths, which is something that nowadays I have like some reserves to agree with that, but I understand where they were coming from, because nowadays we have much more applied sciences degrees that can compete with pure science degrees, and they usually get the job from those people. So in that context, basically I was offered two options. You either go to med school or you go to an engineering school. And I didn't want to go to med school because, one, I was stubborn, and two, I didn't want to work with extreme suffering from humans. So, then I'm left with engineering. What is the most biological engineering I can pursue? And that was food science. And food science at the University of Campinas, where I studied for undergrad, it's the best. Actually, I'm saying it wrong. It's food engineering. There is the best food engineering degree in the Latin America. So it was like, might as well do that one. And it was literally 10 minutes away from my house where I grew up. So I applied and I got in 2013. And right after the end of the first year, I got involved in undergrad research. And my first research was in the realm of nutrition. I was looking at the effects of omega-3 in health. And with that, that's where I found like, oh, here's my niche in food science, in food engineering, and it's way more geared towards nutrition. Because, give me just a second.
Sure.
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Living with housemates sometimes is a little tricky.
No worries.
So then I found my niche in nutrition, and then it was also interesting timing, because I was now interested in diving into metabolism and all of it, so all the biological aspects that I could from the research side. And in my personal life, that's where I started understanding how much I cared for developing a healthy lifestyle. I was back in 2014, I was just starting with that. And it culminated like this combination of having personal and professional interests made me dive into nutrition in various formats since then. So it's almost been 10 years since I found my love for nutrition as well.
Wow. Okay. So I know you are in love with nutrition, but I also wanted to kind of jump a little bit on the feminine side of the topics and about the hormone health, because clearly the nutrition and female hormones are related, but not completely. So I wanted to dive in how you actually was introduced to hormone health, and a little bit about your story was that, because we know that you was passionate about nutrition. I know you trained too, right? So what happened in your life that you switched your focus and you decided to learn a little bit more about hormones?
Yeah. So I would like to, how can I say, include when you say like learning about hormones, I would add is hormones, and also this one aspect that definitely impacts hormone and health, everything about being alive directly, but it's oftentimes set aside, it's oftentimes left out of the conversation. And what is the side is like, it's the psychological, is the spiritual, is the more like, I don't know how to say, much more subjective parts of our being that, although are not spoken of and although are not well delineated by science, they definitely play a huge role in our health and in the way that society has been organized nowadays, in a more like rational, prove me wrong type of mindset. These things are becoming forgotten. And
Yeah.
because for a while they were, how can I say, people decided actively not to talk about it. Let's put it that way. But that has happened for so long that now people don't even need to decide that. People already don't talk about it, right? Because it's forgotten. And I was there. So here, now that I gave you this context, let's answer your question. So, well, I was in my process of diving into the healthy lifestyle, what I thought was the healthy lifestyle. Back in 2016, I found out I was living in Lincoln, Nebraska. That was my first experience in the US. And that's when I found out about flexible dieting. My first contact with it was with Emily Hayden, and I know you had her here in your podcast very recently, and now I think we can say we're all good friends. And so I started like following all these YouTube people, got very impressed with the whole approach that flexible dieting brings. Started working with a coach, which I love and still respect a lot, which is Paul Ravelia, and things started making a lot of sense. I was like using all the science that I studied and applying it to myself, making myself into my own lab, and everything was good. I was finally confident about what I was eating because I have a big appetite. So flexible dieting always helped me because now I was confident that although I was eating large volumes of food, I was not worried that that would actually be out of my macros, let's say. So for a long while, that worked very well. I went to reverse dieting phase, like actually I started bulking. Then I
Have you ever compete? I am not sure. Did you or not? Did you
No,
compete? No.
I didn't. But first it was like a long distance dream. Then after my one cut that I did following a flexible dieting protocol, and that was actually my one cut ever, I got good results. I was like, oh my God, maybe this is real for me. And then I did a reverse diet phase in 2019, and that was also very how do I say, I got good results. And that's when I was like, okay, maybe I could try competing. That was also when I started working for Paul. I was his social media manager. And so I was like diving into this world. I was so excited. I was happy and like excited to start my PhD. I also applied to exercise sciences PhD programs and all of it. I was like all about this. But then the missing part that I'm not telling you is that during all of this time, one, I was neglecting symptoms that I didn't understand were related to my hormonal health. And the other thing, I was on birth control. I started taking birth control when I was 17. So that was 2013. And yeah, and 2012, 2013. And I started it because, as many OBGYNs disrespectfully, I would say, prescribe the pill to people that are actually having other kinds of menstrual problems. They are not looking like to get like protected against conception. No, they have painful periods, they have some kind of issue. My issue was like a very, very heavy menstruation. So that's why I started taking birth control. And but after a few years, I heard about friends. I actually had close friends having problems with blood clots, which is very common when if you already have a tendency for blood clots and you take the pill, that increases your tendencies way higher. So, but from what I understand, although science says that you need to have a tendency first, I've seen so many friends having issues that I think there's something else there. So that was my driver to stop taking the birth control. But after I stopped in 2020, so just a little more context, I talked to my OBGYN back on that day. She's not my doctor anymore. And we agreed that we would take off the birth control when I was in a less stressed moment of my life. So I waited until I was finishing undergrad, and then I took it off. But there was no, how can I say, plan, no exact step-by-step how we're going to do that. We just took it off. So that was January of 2020. And then right after that, my period didn't come. And as, like, I don't know, I am built that way. Once something is off, let's find out why. So I booked a session with her, and right away, I mean, like a month and a half after that happened, I was already seeing her, and we did the ultrasound to check the ovaries and everything, and she said, you gotta get back on the pill, and because you have PCOS, so polycystic ovary syndrome, which is a very common misdiagnosed as well, but it's a very common condition for women. So this was the start of my let's dive into hormone health and let's dive into this femininity world. That was like the trigger, but that's not yet how I got into it, because when I heard these prescription from her, she wanted to get me back on the pill. I was like, no, that certainly is not the only alternative we have. So I started doing my own research, and first I found some books that talk about the pill. If I won't be able to recall the names right now, but I can definitely share with you, and you can put in your show notes. So those were more, how can I say, still very technical, still very rational based, like, yeah, still talking about physiology, but already giving some hints about the relationship between hormones and how women disrespect their nature. And that turned on a light bulb inside my head. And at the same time, I don't know if you know about a effect that is called synchronicity. This term was actually created by Carl Jung, which is a good philosopher and psychologist. And the way he explains what synchronicity is, one of the ways is like when things happen at the same time and they complement each other. So now what I'm gonna say is gonna help understanding what this is. At the same time that I was doing this movement, my psychologist that has been with me for now 9 years, but back in the day was a little less than that. She and another co-worker of her started working with feminine energy. So that's when they invited me to join this circle of women's circle, that would meet every week to discuss this one book that is called The Women That Run with Wolves, which is a very, very, very symbolic book that talks about women's nature. And I joined that. And when I did that, I started working with this other psychologist in parallel. And she recommended me some other books that talk about the nature of women and the power that we have, and how we actually are not. So there are many, nowadays there are many catchphrases that talk about this, but like, we are not built as men, period. We cannot expect women to function just like men every day, because we are not the same person every day. Why? Because we have a cycle, a monthly cycle. So men live on the circadian rhythm, which is the day. We live on the circadian rhythm, 24 hours, and the infradian rhythm, which is the 28 cycle for women. And the hormonal changes there are substantial. So how can anyone expect you to function the same while your body is literally having major changes every day that allow you to be more capable of doing certain types of tasks in one day and certain types of tasks in another phase of your cycle? So there's that part, which is connected to like ancient culture, ancient habits, traditions, where women, like if we go back to agricultural states of human development, women were so connected to their own cycle, which is definitely connected to the moon cycle. Clearly, I think this is one of the surface knowledge that women still nowadays might know, like, oh, back in the day, I heard that this feminine cycle is linked to the moon. Yes, indeed. Nowadays, unfortunately, it's hard for the modern woman to be connected to the moon. But back in the day, women were known to be the source of information for agriculture. And that's why men would come to women expecting wisdom, to know what to do with the crops and all. So all of this, there's so much there. I could spend a lot of time here talking about this. I just decided to bring this one little piece as a symbol of how great the power of women was, and hopefully we can get back to it. But I just want to show how all of this knowledge is still available to us. We are just distant from it to an extent that sometimes if we talk to older people, some of them might still know about how the phases of menstruation impact the day-to-day of a woman, and how we should take that as a power and respect that on a daily basis. But nowadays, sometimes if we talk to grandparents or our parents, they already don't know about this. So it's hard for us to reach to that knowledge, So during this, so after I took the pill off, I got out of the pill. As you said, I spent 2.5 years diving into everything that I could to get my period back. And it was a lot of inner work. It was a lot of changing the way I approach my day, changing my expectations towards me, changing the way I communicate with myself, and changing the way I position myself to the outside. This is a complex struggle, but it was a lot more of a subtle work that allowed me to then, that created the environment that I needed to go and find people, especially my current OBGYN, that also subscribe to this idea that like body, like psychology and physiology and spirituality all work together. If we keep excluding one of these pieces, we won't get to a healthy state. So after, like, that was June of 2021, I finally found a OBGYN that was willing to go on this journey with me and find the root causes of the problem. And being honest with you, I'm still there, meaning like I'm still on the journey of finding the root causes. But I'm very thankful that I already had so much improvement. And I definitely give, how can I say, attribute that to this combination of emotional, spiritual, and more physical work.
Yeah. Well, what is actually push you to take the pill out in the first place? Like, don't you feel bad on it? Because usually that's like what's help girls, right? They come to the OBGYN and then they have some troubles with whatever, not having a regular period, having too heavy period, having some other troubles that can affect their mood, digestion, their sleep. So they give them pill as a solution, right, to get better, which was, for example, my case too. I lost my period for almost 2 years. Hear me out, 2 years. I tried everything possible, right, to get it back, because I was competing. And then when I stopped competing and I, gained all the body fat and did all the holistic approach to my feminine side and energy, didn't help. So my only chance to get my period back was the pill after 2 years trying, right? So what was your story? Like, why you decided to get off? Like, is that was not working for you, or what happened?
Yeah, of course. So I will go back to that in a second, but I just wanted to plant the seed there that when we are on the pill, unfortunately, the bleeding that we experience is actually not our menstruation. So, but still, there is a reason why we want to make sure we are having that bleeding. So let me just give that context because it's important. I think it's important for everyone that is listening. If we don't shed that layer that gets accumulated in our uterus, the layer that protects the baby, right? The endometrium, that accumulates, especially estrogen. I don't know how to pronounce it very perfectly. And
estrogen, you pronounce it right? Yeah, estrogen.
Okay. So if estrogen gets accumulated in our uterus, at some point it's going to become toxic to our body. So this is one of the main reasons why whenever a woman is not menstruating, the first reaction that doctors have is like, you need to go back on the pill. So then we get your uterus health checked. However, that is not a menstruation, because when we take the pill, which contains hormones that are bioidentical to estrogen and progesterone, they are hijacking the metabolism cascade that should be natural for our bodies, right? So the reason why I came off the pill, as I said before, was because I saw so many friends of mine having deadly problems with blood clots, and that was inspired me to get off the pill. But now you asked me if I felt better or worse with the pill. So my journey with that, I did get regular periods, which was not a thing for me before. I did get from 8 days, my cycle shortened to 4 days, and it was manageable. I wouldn't have no more embarrassing moments where I, had like a stain on my shorts because my pads were overflowing, because that's how heavy my period was before. So yeah, those like surface level symptoms got taken care of. However, in 2018, so I started in 2013. In 2018, that's when I told you, like, I was not linking things. I was not making the connections in my head that what I was experiencing was hormonal problems. In 2018, when I was still on the pill, I started developing acne, like here, and I never
From
had
the pill. From the pill.
So hold on. I started developing acne. I started like feeling cold. I would be wearing jackets, like coats basically, while everyone else would be wearing like light shirts. I had very, very low energy, and I started having spotting. So like when you have like small bursts of bleeding through the month. And when I went back to my OBGYN with all of these symptoms, she said, oh, it's just that after a few years, we need to switch the pill type because your body gets used to it. And then we switched the pill to another one, and things got back into normal. But what actually happens is that, so we have like a cascade of hormones, right? We have a very, very, very complex process that starts like in the central nervous system with our hypothalamus and your pituitary gland, and they give lots of commands to our adrenals, ovaries, and other parts of the body. So it's like literally, like if we look at us, I'm a very visual person. The cascade starts here and it keeps going down until our womb, and it has a lot of feedback and interactions back and forth. Okay, when we take the pill, all of that cascade is hijacked by the pill. So at some point, the pill sends information to all of that series of events and says, hey, I take care from there, I'll take care of it from there. But if there is a severe problem or a major problem happening in the first part of this cascade, you might start having symptoms. It's your body telling you, hey, there's actually something wrong here, but the pill is masking it, right? The pill is masking. So for me, although I was not aware that all of this was happening, nowadays, when I think about taking the pill off, well, it saved me from all the blood clots problems and from aggravating all of these underlying hormonal issues that were already happening for a long time, and that I was not being warned about because there was something masking them, right? So if you think about that long term, I don't know if you know that, but when we think about vitality or vital signs for women, being fertile or having your menstruation is one of the vital signs. So if we think like in a more like broad way, this helped me get back into a fertile mode, which is a sign of health, vitality, And if you want to become a mom, you better work on that as soon as possible, because otherwise you're going to need to do other many treatments that are not good for you, and not even for your baby when you decide to come off the pill to have a baby. So I think these are all important points that should be brought up to this conversation and maybe bring insight to your audience.
Well, I think you're right, and I'm absolutely are up to discuss all of those things. But I just was wanted to know your personal experience first. So you had so many symptoms, and when you stopped taking the pill, how did you do it? You just stop it? You
Yeah.
have any plan how to get off of it? Tell us your story.
I already responded that in one of our first questions. So yeah, I did not have a plan. Like
Yeah, I mean, you said it. I just wanted to double check. Like, did you like really like just stop it? Like,
yeah,
to clarify it?
I basically, there was like the little pill pack, right? And to be very, very detailed, I actually lost it at my last month living in Nebraska for a lab internship. And I was like, you know what? Might as well stop now. So that's how I stopped. But granted that I already had that conversation with my OBGYN where we talked, oh yeah, we're just gonna take it away from your routine once you're less stressed. There's no such time. But
yeah, that's right. So what helped you to actually get to your period endpoint even without pill? What was your journey when you stopped taking it? Maybe you have some, I don't know, maybe herbs, maybe some supplements, maybe some routine that helps you to actually get everything in order. And as I know, you are feel much better right now. So what helped you? Can you share? Because I know like so many girls who are need this.
Yeah, of course. So I'm gonna split this into two phases, and yeah, just so you know what happened with me right after I came off the pill, which was nerve-wracking, honestly. I started gaining a lot of weight, and I became tired but wired and very inflamed, you could see. And just for context, that was pandemic time, so a little stressful as well. So why am I saying this? Because back when that happened, I still had my racing, kind of masculine energy mentality, right? And what did I start doing? I started doing more cardio, more exercise, tried doing intermittent fasting, tried all of these things that later I found out that only harm female metabolism even more, depending on the state that you are. So at some point, I think like 8 months into this, I finally started reading the right things, let's say, and started implementing what? Now, this whole other phase. Now I'm going to divide this into two. So physiologically, I started honoring the importance of breakfast. I started doing less. So working out less times on the week, doing less cardio and less intense cardio. Now it's a mixture of physiological and psychological. I started lowering my expectations or my goals. Yeah, my expectations, my critique towards myself, and started becoming more accepting of my weight. So remember, I told you that I was in this like very excited phase where I could see my bodybuilding gains, and out of a sudden, I couldn't even fit into my clothes. Imagine how hard it was to
Oh my
say.
God, I can totally only imagine it, because I know how are stressful is not looking good and not feel good in your body, but also when you know what is affecting it, and you are psychologically made that choice to do that and to go this round, and it's not because you're lazy or you cannot control yourself. It's just because it's hormone issue. It's crazy. It's just
Yeah.
you did it, and I think you are just so powerful, you know.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. The journey is still going, but now that, like, it's always good to look back and see that I went through all of this and that I have evolved from it. And so going back to that, so it was very hard to like say, no, I'm gonna do less right now, and I'm gonna be more accepting of everything that is going on. So this was more like the practical physiological things. Oh, a big thing that I did also was cutting caffeine and doing even more sleep hygiene tasks or habits, implementing even more sleep hygiene habits, like trying to eat at least 2 hours before bed, probably better toward more like towards 4 than 2. Doing calming activities at night, dimming the lights at night. So all the whole sleep hygiene protocol, doing a lot of that. So these were more physiological. And now in the psychological aspects, it was all about doing, I'm gonna repeat this, but now it's in another realm, doing less. So nowadays we want to take as many tasks as we want. We want to fulfill as many roles as we think we need in society. So we want to be the best professional. We want to be the, I don't know, gym rat. We want to be the best friend. We want to be the best daughter. We want to be the best girlfriend if you have a partner. We want to be all of these things all at the same time and all the time. So I stopped. I remember when I found out about this rule of your priority list should not have more than 3 items.
Yeah, that's so good.
So before that, my priority list was huge. And then I started focusing on the essential. And I did that. And although I didn't have a period, I would try to feel like look inside and find my cycle. And if I felt the need to be extroverted, I would find a way of expressing that. If I found the need of coming back to myself, I would find time and create space to do that. So I would be honoring my internal calls, let's say, much more. And that's, although I didn't, as I said, although I didn't have a cycle, I was still honoring my cyclicity, my variation through the month. So that was like telling my body and my soul, if you will, hey, you are safe to function the way you're meant to function. So I believe these are good, like, insights, actionable items that really helped in my journey.
Yeah, I believe so too. But everything starts from the head and then goes down into our body, right? So connecting to your mind and starting to finding your cycle from inside out. It's amazing. Do you use any supplementation? Like, for example, I practice to add some ashwagandha for my girls to get their kind of, hormones in check, like any other, or maybe other things that you used from maybe herbs, maybe like any like supplementations.
Okay, so for supplementations, once I found the OBGYN that I work with to today, her name is Anna, she was in charge of it. So we did a lot of blood work. I know this is not the reality in the US, but I know you have a global audience. But in Brazil, blood work is very common. Like we do it so many times a year. And we did it. We ran a full panel, and we found out that I have adrenal and mitochondrial fatigue. So basically, a hard time producing energy to my body. So that's when we started supplementation that targets that. So,
Wow.
but here's the thing. I actually encourage everyone to find a good professional that is able to tailor the supplementation protocol to their case. So doing blood work and working closely with someone with a certified health practitioner really made a huge difference for me. But I can definitely still list some of the key supplements for me. It is CoQ10. So I think CoQ10, coenzyme Q10. Also B complex vitamins, D vitamin. Let me see what else I've used in and melatonin. But you see here, melatonin, if you say
Melatonin.
yeah.
Melatonin.
But here, that's where I will say it again. I repeat the importance of having a doctor by your side. Why melatonin for me? Because I was and am still go through this, but in a lower, like less intense symptom, tired but wired. And one of the reasons for that is that my regulation between cortisol and melatonin was off. Cortisol and melatonin work in a opposite dance. When one is up, the other is down. And by taking melatonin, I was telling my body, hey, 9 p.m., here's the time where your melatonin should rise and your cortisol should lower, so you can have a good night of sleep. So that was like setting the tone for my body to work its orchestra in a better way. Nowadays we see melatonin being like over the counter for anyone in crazy doses, and also being taken by people sporadically. But actually melatonin is another hormone, right? So I think it should be taken just like any other supplement, but maybe this one a little more seriously than it is. Yeah. So, but definitely this combination helped me support, gave the let's say, yeah, not the substract, but the tools for my body to be able to create and hold on to more energy.
Yeah, that's awesome to know. Yeah, right now melatonin is actually abused, I think. It's just like easy to take it, got it in the pharmacy, and then like you got a good sleep. But obviously you actually mess up your natural production, and plus you get addicted to that, because if you take it every day without stop, in a couple of weeks you could not gonna get sleep without that.
Yeah, kinda. But for example, I take it every day because I need to, but you need to understand how much. But actually, if let's say the role of this is actually like combined. As I speak, I just noticed that I forgot 2 other medications that I'm taking, but it's just that they're not supplements, they're medication. I can talk about them in a second. But looking at the whole combination of supplements and medicine that I was taking, melatonin was like setting the momentum for rest. Further on the road, let's say if my thyroid pick up, if my adrenal pick up, my body should be able to do it on its own. But for now, the other little pieces to work out, we need that momentum to be started by.
No, I'm not saying you're abusing. I'm just saying that a lot of people are biased out in the store.
Yeah.
and then just don't really know what they're doing. But honestly, it's really hard to get good doctor in America for sure. I don't know about
I
Brazil.
agree.
So do you know any research, any maybe place where you can find a good doctor, OBGYN in America?
Mhm. Here in the US, I think it's so hard to navigate health
Mm-hmm.
that I feel sorry. I feel worried for to be here, but also for this nation. You know, I feel worried for me, but I feel worried for the country as well. But um, one thing that I understand is that here it's not necessarily, it could be another kind of doctor that will help you. Like it could be a osteopathic doctor, it could be a functional medicine practitioner. They just need to have the right kind of knowledge. And yeah, I'm why am I saying this? Because the other day I found out about this one doctor that speaks a lot of what I speak. And she is not a OBGYN from what I understand. So it would be great if we had a resource that could help us like sort out the doctors and find out what their specialty is and what their approach is. But unfortunately, I don't have that resource in place to share. Just wanted to like compare that to Brazilian reality. We would definitely go if we're looking for this type of information, working with hormones and integrative health, we would probably look for OBGYNs for women, endocrinologists, and people that work with integrative health. It's, at least for me, from my experience, it's way easier to understand the degree, that like the depth of knowledge that a health practitioner has in Brazil and what their specialty is. Here, I still haven't understood how to navigate that world.
Yeah, I know it's really hard, but I also gonna mention here, being a nutritionist and you are in food science a lot of that also, like our hormone health in general are related to nutrition too. So there's the things that we cannot control in our bodies. It's just like hormones, right? Sometimes we cannot control them, but we can control what we put in our body, talking about not only pills, but also nutritions, right?
Yeah.
So do you feel like when you change your nutrition approach, how did you change it to help your hormones or get in the best possible way? If there is any diet you follow, any small things that you change in the way you eat?
Huh. I think that's the place where I still have my challenges. Like, of course, I have other places where I have challenges, but that's the place where I hold the most unanswered questions because I've I've gone through a lot of different phases during these years. The first thing that happened, of course, once I was diagnosed with PCOS was, okay, you basically can't eat carbs anymore. And then
Do you believe in that? I don't believe in that.
it is very important for people that have insulin resistance, at least as a first SOS approach.
Well,
But
yes, but
you
you
need to
can
be very
switch to the
mindful.
better carbs. Like you need the carbs to survive. Your body need carbs. You
I
just
agree
have to
with
see
you.
what type of carbs you eat.
I agree with you, but actually in the PCOS case, if the person is very insulin resistant, at first you need to make them insulin sensitive in order to introduce carbs again. It is a process that you need to do.
Yeah,
So
I just have a client like this, and we did different approach, which is also gets studied a lot. There's a lot of research out there. You can read about that. Is actually introducing the carbs and doing the other way. That's kind of the way that you actually are getting insulin are higher, but your body gets used to it, so it's kind of balanced out this way. And this way is in the research and in my personal experience with the client is really helpful. So I'm just saying that not everything works for everyone. Doesn't mean you need
No,
to eat carbs if you have that type of, problem, because
that's
I'm not saying someone to do anything. I'm just saying that you have the approach. So what was the story with you? Did you reduce all the carbs?
yeah. So I was getting into that. So first thing was like became completely afraid of carbs. After that, I did not cut out all the carbs because, as you said, I couldn't subscribe to that idea. I was like, I know the importance of this, and so if you want to take my carbs out, give me the whys. And the people wouldn't give me the whys. So I was
I'm sorry,
lost.
give you what?
The whys, the reasons why.
Oh, the whys, the reasons. Okay, got it,
Yeah.
got it.
And I was lost in that turmoil of like, what should I do? And that kept going. And I only kept trying different things. I ended up trying also the fast mimicking diet. So fasting mimicking diet, where you try to create ketosis by eating certain kinds of foods and also do intermittent fasting at the same time. That
Yeah.
was terrible, terrible. And that is a diet that is prescribed to reduce inflammation, but
That's not gonna work out.
not gonna
Keto
work.
is not reducing inflammation in general.
And
Yeah.
it's not, no, it depends. Actually, there are cases that, yes, it helps. But in this case, where you're trying, like, what everything that the female body wants is to feel safe and feel that nutrients are coming in a effortless basis, and you can relax, digest, and bring hormones back to their regular levels. If you fast a person, you're basically telling the opposite message, right? So I had that phase too. And then I worked with a functional dietitian. And she basically said that after a while, we worked together. I was on a meal plan, and the meal plan was basically what I tend to eat. Because even when I was flexible dieting, it was always like at least 80% of my diet is based in whole foods, the whole story, right? And then there's room for flexibility, there's room for any kind of treats that we want. And as a food engineer, I am able to tell what is a good food, good processed food, and what is not a good processed food. There's no such thing as all processed foods are bad. That's not true. What you need to do is do your search, get your knowledge, and be able to sort them out. So I never cut processed food at all, but I just am very knowledgeable and mindful about what I include in my diet. And even for the ones that we call like the highly palatable foods, there's always room for that, but it should be in the 10 to maximum of 20% of the food that you put into your body. But so when I was working with her, at some point she said, you don't need my help, you know what you're doing. So that was 2021. And after that, here when we talk about nutrition, as I said, still a huge challenge because I still face a lot of issues here but I understand now that during this whole phase, I went through 2 weight gain phases, and one of them was just this year. And this year I had a very stressful period. Not that the past years I didn't, but it was just a lot quick, and I got an increase in weight unexplainedly, like with no explanation. And now I can see that for me, diet can be the same, but if my metabolism and my stress is different, I will respond differently to the same diet. So that's where I still need to build knowledge, and I still need to know myself in order to be able to help myself and help other people with that. But I don't think any kind of restriction helps. There is a approach or a train of thought, like a philosophy in nutrition that is called the pro-metabolic approach. And I've seen many women recovering from deeply malfunctioning or deeply what's the word I'm looking for, like aged metabolisms, recovering from those states just by going into a pro-metabolic diet. And one of the main things for the pro-metabolic approach is like you first need to support the function of your body, so then you can have your body work with you. So it's much more about implementing and giving more, both calories and diversity and nutrients, to then prepare your body to be shaped the way you want, both in all kinds of senses, like strength, aesthetics, and all of that.
Yeah, I agree with you. I just wanted to point some of the things you said. It's just such a great one. You said you need to know yourself a little more or actually find out why the diet worked for you or not work for you. That's exactly what I see in a lot of females are the biggest struggle, right? Before you are even like look into the diet, you have to deal with yourself, because if you eat the bullshit, there's something going on inside of you that tells you that. But even if you eat the right proper diet and then everything is perfect, but you don't like the way you look or didn't feel the great way, right? There's something going on inside that we need to adjust. Like the mind and the body are one. So that's such a amazing thing you just mentioned. I absolutely wanted to point on that because I struggle a lot with the people coming to me as a clients, and I can give you a perfect diet. I can give you all the macronutrients your body needs, but you need to do the work inside and find a power inside of your mind to ask the questions and not to be scary to change your mindset in order to implement those things into your life, right?
Yeah.
And it's not such a thing like a great diet. And then on the other hand, what I actually experience with a lot of people who comes to me is if they are actually truly fixing what's trigger them inside mindfully, the diet is not matter anymore. They actually lose weight or whatever, gain weight or get better health, whatever goal is, or just get the bikini body shape without a significant changes in the diet. So it's more likely you are not satisfied the way you look and doesn't feel great because something going on mentally that you need to adjust. And we all here on this planet to become better, to grow, right? In all the aspects, and nutrition, workout, hormones is just one of the tool that we use, as well as the mental things that we work on, right? So it's just really great. Thank you so much for sharing this. I feel like I could talk to you forever, but we have some time, that we need to cut it short. We need to kind of like get into the end of this conversation. So before I let you go, I have one question that I ask everyone on this podcast. If that's going to be the last day of your life on this earth, what you going to do?
If today was the last day of my life?
Oh, well, not maybe tomorrow. We just wake up and it's the last day.
Oh my God. I wish I was prepared for this.
What? You didn't listen to my podcast? I asked that to everyone. You gotta go and listen.
I can't get enough hours on my day. After my PhD, maybe I'm gonna be on top of all of this. But right now, all I listen to is like how to extract DNA and purify it without losing it and stuff like that.
Yeah, I feel you, girl. Don't worry, nothing personal in there.
And then in the meantime, I try to do some guided meditations when I can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel you.
But well, I think, well, I'm gonna give you the one thought that came to my mind right after you asked me the question.
Yeah, that's the gold, the first thought.
Okay. So I thought, okay, I would be here, right? I would be in California. And I felt, okay, I'm gonna call everyone that matters to me and have a good time with them.
Wow. And then that's it?
Yeah, I mean, that was my one thought. So I think that shows to me how important, like that shows how important it is to me to cherish my relationships with the people that matter to me. And
Yeah, and then that's the good
sometimes,
news. The good news here, and then the good news is here, you can do it right away. You don't need to wait until your last day to call to your people and say them
yes,
that you love them.
indeed, exactly. And that's why I was completing that with, no matter how busy I am, I will at least be thinking about these people, and I will reach out at some point. And it could be a interaction on Instagram, like sending out love, a heart, or it could be say, hey, how are you? Or hey, I thought about you, just checking in, something like that. Because as we are talking, like life flies, life is very volatile. And if we rely on the other person's perception, I know this because I do this to myself when I think about other interactions that I have. If we rely only on other person's perspective or perception of how much we love them, they might not exactly know how much we love them. So might as well take all the chances and tell them.
Absolutely. Yes, girl. Do go ahead and do it right now. Honestly, like when you finish this call, because I just faced that. I faced that right away when the war started in my country. As you guys maybe know, maybe not, I'm Ukrainian. I have all my family in Ukraine. When the war started, and then I truly faced the situation when I can lose anyone any second. You clearly, find the way to say that you love them every day, because you absolutely don't know when you're going to have the other chance to tell them that. So whoever listens to this podcast, there's such an amazing message we're going to send to you right now. Just you can pause, you can just press the button and stop this podcast right now and call to your significant one, to your family member, to whoever you want to reconnect, and say them that you love them, that you care, and that you are going to be there for them. We all need that. And in the end of the day, that's why we're on this planet. We're here to support, to connect, and to grow together. Thank you so much, Natalie, for this amazing podcast. It's a lot of information, and I'm sure many girls would like to reach out to you to ask more questions, maybe. So how the people can find you?
Yeah, of course. So right now, if you look at my Instagram, you're gonna think, oh my God, this girl doesn't do anything. Actually, she's not a social media person anymore, content creator, but I am. I'm just in my hibernation phase, but I'm still there. So you can find me in Flexible Nati. So it's flexible, what's the word? Underscore underscore NATI. And you can always reach out to me, and we were gonna have deep, meaningful talks. Nowadays I'm focusing on my research, but after I finish my PhD, what I want is to help as many people as I can, especially with this intersection between psychological and physiological health. So that's my dream. Hopefully we're gonna be all together here through this journey, and you're more than welcome to come and talk to me before I get.
Of course, I will leave all those guys in the description down below, so you can easily find Natalie. How do you like to be called? Natalia, yeah, right? Okay, so thank you so much for today's conversation. I absolutely love it, and I wish you finish your PhD quickly and easy, and reconnect with me after 2 years, having many women already that you helped. And if I will have anyone with the hormone problems like this, I would definitely know where to send them. I love you, girl. Have an amazing rest of your day, and
Thank you so much.
hope to talk to you soon.
Thank you so much. I'm honored to be here. I hope everyone finds this very helpful and talk to you soon. Have an amazing day.